For this video, we're going to be developing some Kodak vision3 500T movie film. First and foremost, take the film out of the camera once you're done shooting. I left the leader attached, that way later on I can still save the film spool for bulk rolling film later on. But yeah, typically you'll have to pry off that cap, pull out the film, and do all this in the darkroom bag, by the way. And then, you know, you're going to load it into your Patterson tank. I'm just kind of showing all the contents of the Patterson tank. You know, just got to make sure it's clean, and yeah, you're good to go. The film reel is, you know, one of those collapsible ones. You can use 120 film or 35 millimeter. For this, we're doing 35 millimeter, so I'll size it up, get it all closed up, and yeah, that's good to go as well. So yeah, basically what I was saying is you'll have to do this in the bag, but essentially you're just going to put it into those little slots and pull it along the grooves, and then you can just ratchet it onto the entire spool there. But yeah, first and foremost, take off anything that has any kind of light emitting from it, like a watch, and then you're going to want to pretty much get everything ready to where you can put all the contents that you need into the darkroom bag. But yeah, you can fast forward to the middle of the video if you want to see like the development and the remjet removal. But yeah, this is kind of just the general, you know, loading of the stuff into the darkroom bag here. Yeah, make sure you include your pliers if you're going to pry off that cap in order to get to the film. But like I said, for this, we already have the film leader out, so we'll just be pulling it along and saving that that film spool for bulk rolling later on. One thing to remember, always make sure this thing is right side up, not upside down in there. You're going to get a lot of light leaks, you're going to lead into a lot of trouble, but the easiest way to check is to put your finger in there, and if it hits the part where your stirring device locks in, then you know it's on right. If your finger just goes in too deep, then you know it is upside down, and definitely make sure you switch that around because you're gonna have some problems. Yeah, so load everything into the bag, load your film on there, or into the Patterson tank, seal it up. It's all light sealed, you can pull it out. Yeah, and you're good to go. Like I said, this was already bulk rolled, so they already had it prepared to, you know, I'll just attach more film to it later on. But yeah, we're pretty much ready to go here. Here I'm setting up everything for development. I got my dish bin, which I will fill with water, and I also have a sous vide temperature regulator that I will be using for this, just to keep the water in my water bath at temperature. I highly recommend this because the sous vide temperature regulator will keep everything at proper temperature. The only thing is you just have to make sure everything is at temperature before you start developing. In this next step, I'll be making the baking soda wash, which you will use to remove the remjet. There is remjet removal solution you can buy, but I just use the baking soda because it does a decent enough job, but it just basically removes enough of the remjet that it's not going to be getting into my developer, exhausting it quickly, or even just turning it all cloudy. So essentially for this, you just remove all the remjet that you can with the baking soda wash for, you know, this method I've been using. But yeah, there's the developer. That date is totally inaccurate, but it's good to date it and to mark how many times you've developed with it. That way you can adjust your times accordingly. Right now I'm just checking the temperature of that developer just to make sure I can go ahead and start doing the whole remjet removal first. Because you pretty much want to do it this way, that way you can make sure you're basically going to be preheating your film in the Patterson tank this way with the remjet removal, so it's good to just do it and then immediately go into development. So it looks like developer's at temperature, so everything's good to go with all that. So yeah, we're pretty much ready to begin our remjet removal on the film. For this, you do need the cover of your Patterson tank because you will be doing a lot of shaking to kind of break up and just get all that remjet removed. You want your water to be a little bit above your working solution temperature, so around like 39 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Celsius, just to kind of make sure when you mix it with the baking soda, it kind of rests at the right temperature. You kind of want everything to stay at that 38, 39 degrees, depending on what you would be comfortable developing at. For this, I'm using a Rolly kit, Rolly C41 kit, but pretty much any kit would work for this method. For this, you'll be using about, like, I don't know, 4.5, 5 tablespoons of baking soda. Honestly, it doesn't really matter how much baking soda you use, I found. I just use enough to where it's just gonna, like I said, remove that base layer of remjet, to where later on I'll show you, and like I'll be having to remove a lot more remjet later on in the process. But this is just to kind of keep your chemicals clean, and you know, to kind of remove that initial part of the remjet. For this, you want to make sure your baking soda is fully dissolved. That's kind of important. You don't want any like remnants of baking soda exhausting your developer, and you also just want it all to be in solution. It's just good to have. Getting my timer out, because essentially you're going to want to time this, just because you really don't want to, I mean, I don't know how long really is too long when it comes to just the preheating phase, but this whole thing's going to last around 4 to 5 minutes, this initial wash, to remove the remjet. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of show you the time, that way you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. We'll check our temperature there, see where we're at. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Good temperature there. One thing I didn't do here is it would be best to preheat the Patterson tank before you start this. That way you're not lowering your temperature immediately when you are adding the baking soda solution to it. That way you kind of want to just preheat everything just to make sure you're not working with something lower temperature than you expect. But yeah, but when you do it, seal it in, start shaking it for a good 20 seconds or so. Make sure you're burping it, because it will build up a lot of gas, and the last thing you want is all this black remjet to just go blowing up all over the kitchen. So been there, done that, not fun. Yeah, you see that remjet pouring out, just add the remainder of your solution there. Give it another 20-25 second shake. Once you've done that, also, you know, just make sure you're continuing to burp it if it is producing gas. You can kind of feel it swelling in the lid when you're doing this, which, yeah, just make sure you're doing that. When it comes time to rinse, make sure you don't drop your phone in the water, but yeah, also get that water to temperature, and you know, make sure it's at that 38 degree mark, 38, 39 degree mark. But you are going to want to continue to shake it up even with the running water, just to make sure you're removing all of that baking soda solution. But yeah, give it a rinse, shake it up, you know, just keep doing it for a good couple minutes. I kind of go over time here just because you know, my phone got a little wet. I was just thinking about that the whole time. But yeah, you know, gotta roll with the punches. Yeah, keep rinsing it out till the water runs clear, and then some, and after that, you know you cleared it all out, and now you can go on to the developing phase. For these chemicals, I've developed maybe like 5 rolls of medium format, along with like 2 rolls of regular film, plus the chemicals were, they were just old enough to where it's a typical 3-minute and 15-second development, and for this I wanted to go around 4 minutes, just based on, you know, I wanted to push the film slightly and at the same time compensate for how old the chemicals might have been. So yeah, so you'll see me developing here, agitating for the first 20 seconds, and then on out every 30 seconds after that. For the whole 4 minutes here. Yeah, it's always good to double check that your chemicals are at temperature, kind of like a couple minutes into it, just to make sure that you are actually developing at the temperature you think you're developing at. It's always just a good thing, rule of thumb, to kind of continue to check it throughout the process. But yeah, you'll see kind of getting this developing done. Yeah, and then right after development, just like any C41 process, you'll move right into the Blix on that. At this point, I realized that my Blix was actually, it had like precipitated in itself. I'd never seen this before, but the Blix was pretty old, and I bought like a 2.5 gallon or 2.5 liter like kit, and I used half of it one time of the year, and then I just mixed the other half of it halfway through the year. So I think the chemicals were just kind of at that age where it was just, it wasn't really that good. I was kind of nervous at this point. I thought the Blix wasn't even going to be effective. So yeah, typically with a new Blix, you'll do a 6-minute Blix, but for this, since everything looked so soupy and separated, I just decided to continue with this development and just push it all the way to 15 minutes on the bleach fix. So you'll see that here when I'll show you in a second what we're talking about here as far as the condition of the Blix. Yeah, it definitely shouldn't look cloudy. It should look a little bit more like, you know, together than that. So, but yeah, we're just rolling with it. You know, we're just letting it go. Business as usual. Same type of agitation as you would for development, every 30 seconds. At this point, I kind of have my doubts. I feel like the experiment might be a wash at this point. I say experiment, the development would be a wash at this point. By now, too, you don't even need the Patterson tank to be sealed anymore. Once you've bleached and fixed it, you know, the film is in a solid, or in a stable state, so you can just, you know, open that baby up. At this point, too, in a typical, you know, development, I would leave it in there and just run through my my final like rinsing phase. But for this, you have to now remove the remjet, which in the first stage you kind of take off the surface amount of remjet that's just going to get into your developer. But at this point, you'll see there's a lot of remjet left on there. So I mean, you can barely see it at this point, but yeah, you can see it though. And you'll definitely see the water start to change color as I'm doing it. For this, you can be, I don't know, I tend to not be too gentle with the film, but I just try to be more gentle with the emulsion side. The part that the remjet is on, you can pretty much just, as long as you're not scratching it with anything abrasive, you know, you can be pretty, you can rub it pretty vigorously, you know, just be really careful of the emulsion side, honestly. I'll remove the film from the reel. Just be careful to not bend the film as you're removing it from the reel. But yeah, you can see the remjet on the part where I haven't touched it. It's pretty dark over there, but you'll see it start to all come off. Even when you can't see the remjet on the film anymore, you still want to continue to like rub it, because there's small pieces of remjet that'll stay on there, and when you start scanning, then you'll realize it, and then you don't want to have to go through that again, having to rewash the film and, you know, remove the remjet. So when you got it in the sink, just make sure you're being really thorough with it. You know, just make sure you're getting, you know, all of that remjet off of the film. For some, I mean, for this film even, there was remjet that had gotten onto the emulsion side as well, so I had to be a little bit more careful with it, but still had to get all that removed in some way. You're going to be putting it back on the reel later, so just make sure you clean off, you know, the reel as much as you can if there is any remjet lingering on there. I'll take a wet paper towel as well once I've kind of worked it with the gloves long enough, and I'll just run that along the entire strip of film, and you'll see in a second how much remjet is actually still on there, even though it looks pretty clear right now. Yeah, lots of black stuff on there, yeah. But even then, there's still remjet on there, so you just got to be really careful still, but careful of the emulsion side, I mean, but just, you know, continue to try and remove it. As you can see here, I'm seeing some remjet on the emulsion side that I'm just trying to get off, but at this point it looks like I got all of it, so I'm ready to load it back on the reel there. And if you have the reel in the water with the film, it is really easy to reel it back on. Just if it's out of the water, it will start to like bunch up on itself, and you can bend the film and get those nasty half moons and just bad looking nicks in your film. But yeah, once it's done with that, you're pretty much now at the stage where you can put the final rinse on your film. So for that, I'll usually put it back on the spool and load it back in to my Patterson tank. Give it a good rinse. You can never rinse it enough, I feel like, you know. Give it a good rinse on there. Alright, then you'll add your final rinsing solution. Yeah, you just pretty much do this for 15 seconds, agitate for 15 seconds, leave it for a minute, then you're good to go. Yeah, I kind of bent it there when I was trying to remove it. But yeah, just that's something to be careful of, you know. But thankfully there's no image on that spot. Yeah, after the final rinse, I will, or final rinsing solution, I will just take a relatively damp paper towel and then run it along the entire film just to, one, remove any kind of excess, and this will promote drying faster. I find that the faster you can dry it when you're developing inside, you know, the least dust you'll get on your film. But mind you too, the paper towel will leave small bits of paper towel dust if you're not careful. So you have to go in one solid, smooth motion. Make sure not touch your shirt with it like I did, but it's whatever, yeah. I always turn the AC off as well when I'm going to hang it somewhere, especially if I'm not hanging it in the bathroom. I find that our bathroom's really dusty, so I tend to just put it in this room here where it can just hang in peace, so I can close the door, and then, you know, I'll just leave it in there for a good hour and a half while it dries. But yeah, after that, it's time for some cleanup. You know, keeping everything in the dish bin kind of keeps everything clean. And yeah, looks like we're done here. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know if you have any questions about my method. I mean, there's many ways to do this. This is just something I found in my, you know, trial and error. At the end of the video, I will post a couple of sample images from this roll. That way you can kind of see the process. Thankfully, the Blix being all messed up didn't necessarily hinder or affect the images in any bad way, so I was pretty grateful for that. I will probably retire these chemicals after this and get another kit. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. And yeah, more film-related videos to come. I'll probably be doing some black and white soon, but that'll be a separate video on caffeinol development. But yeah, once again, these are the images here, and yeah, here's some other images of those images I just showed you. Thanks for watching.